Hey, friends, and welcome back to Nourish with Regina, where we talk about transforming your plate and transforming your life. I'm Regina, certified nutrition coach, wife, mom of four, and someone who deeply believes that health should feel supportive, not scary or overwhelming. Today, we're going to kick off February, uh, the month of love, with something I really wanted to talk about that really matters to me, and that is heart health. Before we talk about food or science, I just want to share briefly why this topic is so personal for me. Um, my husband's brother passed away at just 51 due to heart issues. And what made that loss especially shocking was that by most standards, he was considered healthy. Um, that experience changed the way I think about heart health for myself and especially for my husband, because it made something very clear to me. Heart health and heart disease doesn't only affect people who look unhealthy. It doesn't always come with obvious warning signs, and genetics and family history matters. And this doesn't mean we live in fear, but it does mean we live and eat with intention. So today's conversation is for everyone, whether you're listening for yourself, your partner, your kids, or your parents. My goal is not to scare you, it's to help you understand your body better and to remind you how much influence you actually have over your long term health. So, what heart health really means beyond cholesterol? When most people hear heart health, the first thing that comes to mind is cholesterol. And yes, cholesterol is part of that conversation, but it's far from the whole story. Your heart is influenced by so many systems working together: your blood sugar, your inflammation levels, your gut health, your sleep, and your daily movement. Your heart doesn't exist in isolation, it responds to what's happening in your entire body. Here's something I think is really important to understand: cholesterol itself isn't a villain, and we've kind of been taught that it is. Your body actually needs cholesterol to function. You use it to make hormones, vitamin D, bile acids for digestion, and healthy cell membranes. What matters more than total cholesterol is how cholesterol behaves in your body. And that behavior is strongly influenced by blood sugar balance and inflammation. In fact, research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology has shown that elevated triglycerides, one of the biggest cardiovascular risk markers, is often driven more by high blood sugar and insulin resistance than by dietary fat alone. So if someone is eating low fat but still struggling with cholesterol numbers, we often need to look deeper. I want to pause here and talk about something important because heart disease doesn't usually show up overnight. For most people, it develops slowly and quietly. Early signs often look like things people normalize: being tired all the time, getting winded easily, brain fog, inflammation, joint pain, swelling in your legs and ankles, blood pressure that keeps on creeping up, or labs that won't improve even though you're trying. A lot of times we chalk those symptoms up to just aging when they can be very important markers. Especially for women, symptoms don't always look like chest pain. They can show up as fatigue, dizziness, or just not feeling quite yourself. But here's the hopeful part: these early signs are often signals, not sentences. So, multiple studies, including work from the American Heart Association, shows early cardiovascular changes are highly responsive to lifestyle interventions. That means the heart can improve when inflammation is lowered, blood sugar stabilizes, fiber intake increases, you manage your stress well, and you implement consistent movement. There is even research showing that dietary changes can improve endothelial health function that's the lining inside your blood vessels, in a matter of weeks, not years. That's incredible. So when we talk about heart disease being reversible, what we really mean is your body is biologically responsive. Not perfect, not instant, but responsive. And that's incredibly empowering. So, heart health principles apply to everyone, but men and women can experience risk differently. So, let's talk about some of those and how they're different. So, men often show cardiovascular issues earlier than women do, and the risk is closely tied to visceral fat, smoking history, and unmanaged stress. Women's risk tends to rise after menopause when estrogen declines. Estrogen has a protective effect on blood vessels, and when it drops, like it does in perimenopause and menopause, inflammation and insulin resistance can increase. That's why, for women especially, blood sugar balance and chronic stress play such a huge role in heart health. But the foundation remains the same for all people: stable blood sugar, lower inflammation, nutrient dense food, regular movement, and adequate rest. You guys got to get the sleep. And I know that's so hard sometimes. So, for the next section, let's just talk about eating for a healthy heart without implementing extremes. Because, like we've talked about before, anything with extremes or that feels overwhelming or impossible is not something you're going to stick with. And I want you to stick with this because I want you to be healthy and have a heart that supports everything you want to do in life. So let's talk about food, because this is where a lot of people often feel overwhelmed. Heart healthy eating is not about cutting everything out. It's about supporting your body consistently. And hopefully that's a word you've heard across several of these podcasts, is consistency. We're adding in things and making substitutions and doing things consistently, which is where we're going to see our progress. So when I say a heart supportive plate, what I really mean is this: you're building meals that help keep your blood sugar steady, inflammation lower, and your body nourished over time. So let's break that down in a practical way. When it comes to protein, let's think about foods that help keep you full and support muscle and metabolism. That could look like salmon or other fatty fish a couple times a week, um, chicken, turkey, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, beans, lentils, if you tolerate them well. If you're not used to getting in fiber, maybe we introduce those things little by little. Um, or even tofu if you're a vegan or vegetarian, or tempeh for those who prefer the plant-based options. For vegetables, I'm talking about filling half of your plate. We talked about this last week. Um, Vegetables are so important. Get some color and variety on your plate. Leafy greens like spinach or arugula, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage, Brussels sprouts, peppers, zucchini, carrots, even frozen vegetables absolutely count here. You don't have to be a chef to implement any of this. These foods are all rich in antioxidants and fiber and micronutrients, which support cholesterol balance and help reduce inflammation. Healthy fats are another key piece, and this is where a lot of people feel unsure because we've told that our whole lives that fats are bad, fats cause cholesterol to increase, eat a low fat diet. But fats are so important. So think olive oil drizzled over vegetables, or avocado added to a bowl or salad, nuts like walnuts, almonds, chia, flaxseed, or the natural fats that come from fatty fish. These fats actually help protect your heart and support hormone health. Now let's talk about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates provide fiber, not refined carbs, but foods that give your body energy while also feeding your gut and supporting blood sugar. Sweet potatoes, berries, oats, if you can tolerate those, quinoa, beans, lentils, and even whole fruits. They all fall into this category. The fiber in these foods helps slow down your blood sugar spikes and supports healthy cholesterol metabolism. When you put all of those pieces together, protein, vegetable, healthy fats, and fiber rich carbohydrates, you're not following a diet, you're building meals that love your heart back. And the best part is, this can look different from meal to person, but the foundations, the formula will always stay the same. Research published in the New England Journal of Medicine has shown that diets higher in fiber and unsaturated fats are associated with significantly lower cardiovascular risk, even without calorie restriction. And that's so important. So now that we know the formula, let's talk about some heart healthy swaps and simple recipes you can do to implement this week. So instead of listing rules, I like to think in swaps. When we talk about heart health, it's not usually about dramatic changes. That can be overwhelming. It's about the small swaps we're going to make again and again, day after day, until they become habits. For example, instead of cooking with refined vegetable oils, canola oil, or shortening, we're going to reach for olive oil or avocado oil. This could be as simple as drizzling some in a pan or over roasted vegetables, sauteing some onions and garlic, or mixing into a homemade salad dressing. These oils are rich in monosaturated fats, which research shows can help reduce inflammation and support heart health. Another easy shift is choosing salmon or another fatty fish a couple times a week. This doesn't have to be fancy. It could be a sheet pan salmon with lemon and garlic, salmon broiled and added to a salad, or even canned salmon works. Mix it with olive oil and herbs for a quick lunch. The omega-3 fats in fatty fish have been shown to support healthy triglyceride levels. I don't know why that was hard for me to say. And reduce inflammation, both important for heart health. When it comes to something sweet, because we all get a sweet tooth sometimes. So instead of reaching for a sugary dessert most nights, try adding berries, fresh or frozen, with some Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, or even a small square of dark chocolate. Can satisfy that desire for something sweet while also providing fiber and antioxidants that help support blood vessels and heart health. I'm going to give you one of my favorite little quick snacky time recipes. So cottage cheese, great source of protein. I take cottage cheese and I put it in my little food processor, and I put in some defatted peanut flour and just a teaspoon of regular peanut butter and maybe just a little bit of Truvia and salt. And I whip that up and it makes like this delicious peanut butter pudding kind of thing. It's not really pudding, but it's delicious. I call it a peanut butter whip. And then if you wanted to, you could stir some dark chocolate chunks in there. I've even done it with lemon and sweetener too, to make like a lemony dessert. It's delicious. So easy. Give it a try. It's wonderful. Um, Finally, I want you to think about how you flavor your food. You know, our usual go-to is salt, pepper, or if we're having other things like heavy sauces, those kind of things. Instead of relying on those or packaged seasonings that often are high in sugar and sodium, we're going to start using herbs and spices. So some of my favorites, and I use them pretty much every day: garlic, turmeric, cinnamon, rosemary, oregano, basil. These don't just add flavor, they also contain compounds that support anti-inflammatory pathways to your body. A little garlic and olive oil can transform some vegetables into a delicious dish. Cinnamon can make oatmeal or yogurt feel like a treat without a lot of added sugar. These swaps don't require perfection. They're just gentle upgrades and simple things that anyone can do. Small changes will add up over time and support your heart in a really great and healthy way. So, some meal ideas, just because I love to help you out. How about a sheet pan salmon dinner with olive oil, garlic, and roasted vegetables? You get some of those root vegetables in there, like um, sweet potatoes or turnips or beets, and that's also going to support gut health. And we know that everything's connected and it all stems from gut health. So that is a fantastic, delicious dish that's easy and it's heart healthy and gut supportive. So you can't go wrong there. Um, a lentil or bean soup, vegetable soup, that's super filling. It's rich in fiber. Your beans are going to give you protein that you need to anchor that meal, and it's going to be super affordable if you're watching your budget. For breakfast, super easy because we know breakfast is important. How about some Greek yogurt with berries and chia seeds? It would also make a great snack too in the afternoon. Roasted sweet potatoes, especially if you're, craving something sweet, or sweet potato fries. I like to make those in the oven or my air fryer, a little bit of cinnamon. I actually like my sweet potatoes baked with a little bit of Greek yogurt on it instead of sour cream. It's delicious. Um, and again, we're going to use olive oil or avocado oil to roast these in because we're we're trying to be heart healthy, right? So these foods all support blood vessels, inflammation, and metabolic health without feeling restrictive. So I want to leave you with this thought. Taking care of your heart is an act of love. Love for yourself, love for the people who need you and want you to be around a really long time, and stewardship of the body God gave you. You don't need perfection. You don't, what you do need is consistency, and you need to give yourself grace because we're learning a new way of nourishing our bodies, and that doesn't happen overnight. It's consistency and learned habits over time. So if this episode encouraged you, please like, follow, and subscribe. You can listen on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Nourish with Regina. I'm also starting a guided support group coaching program for February. It's called Nourish with Love, and that begins February 16th. If you're interested in that, you can sign up at www.nourishwithregina.com. Next week, we're going to talk more about the heart-gut connection and how microbiome in your gut influences cholesterol, inflammation, and your cravings. Thank you for being here, friends. Take care of your heart with love. Bye.